The 911 dispatch center in Miami County, Ohio, received a call at 2:30 in the morning on February 16th. The man on the other end of the line was gasping for air, his words tumbling out between sobs. Caleb Flynn reported that someone had broken into his home in the small village of Tip City, just north of Dayton. He told the dispatcher that his wife had been shot. She was in their bed. She was not moving. The call captured raw, unfiltered terror. But within those frantic minutes, a single response from Caleb would later be scrutinized by investigators. When the dispatcher asked if his two young daughters, who were asleep in the house, were safe, Caleb admitted he had not checked on them. He had not run to their rooms. He had not shielded them from a potential intruder who might still be inside. He called 911 first. To the trained ears of law enforcement, this was not the instinct of a protective father. It was the first crack in a story that would soon begin to crumble under the weight of evidence. Caleb and Ashley Flynn were the kind of couple that made others believe in fairy tales. They met young, fell in love, and built a life centered on faith and family. Caleb was a worship leader at their local church, often seen with a guitar in hand, leading the congregation in song. In 2014, he auditioned for American Idol, earning a moment of national television exposure. During his appearance, he dedicated his performance to Ashley, telling the camera simply, "I just love my wife."
Music is all I know. It's what I live to do, and I love to sing, so that's why I auditioned. Maybe my wife kind of nudged me a little bit too.
It was a moment that endeared him to viewers and cemented their image as a devoted couple. Ashley was equally beloved in the community. She worked as a teacher at the local middle school and coached the volleyball team, spending her days shaping young minds and her evenings mentoring young athletes. They ran a small flooring business together, presenting themselves as entrepreneurs committed to their community. To their friends, their neighbors, and their congregation, the Flynns represented stability, faith, and the American dream. No one who knew them could imagine the violence that would one night shatter their home. Tip City, Ohio is the kind of place where people leave their doors unlocked and neighbors know each other by name. When the dispatch call went out, officers responded within minutes, their cruisers cutting through the quiet suburban streets. The first officer on scene entered the Flynn home with his body camera rolling, capturing every moment that would follow. Inside, he found Caleb in a state of extreme emotional distress, weeping, collapsing, struggling to breathe. The officer's training took over immediately. He secured the scene, ordering no one else to enter. He asked about firearms. Caleb mentioned a shotgun in the house and a handgun kept in the glove box of his truck. The officer moved through the home, his flashlight cutting through the darkness, cataloging details. He checked on the children, who were still asleep, unaware of the chaos unfolding just rooms away. He noted the position of furniture, the condition of doors, the state of vehicles. Every detail was a piece of a puzzle he did not yet fully understand. But even in those first moments, something felt wrong. As officers moved through the garage, a detail emerged that would become central to the investigation. A side door stood open, seemingly providing an entry or exit point for a potential intruder. But the door was not easily accessible. A refrigerator had been pushed in front of it, meaning anyone using that door would have had to move a heavy appliance out of the way. Officers looked at each other. The scenario did not make sense. A burglar, having just committed a murder, would flee through the nearest exit, not waste precious seconds moving furniture. The open door appeared staged, an attempt to manufacture evidence of a break-in. This observation was not lost on the responding officers. They noted it quietly, filed it away, and continued their survey of the property. In the driveway, another detail caught their attention. Caleb's truck sat with its center console wide open. Caleb had told them he kept a handgun in that console. The open compartment suggested someone had recently accessed it. Whether that someone was Caleb or an intruder remained the question. But the combination of the stage door and the open console was already forming a pattern that pointed away from a random home invasion. Throughout the initial response, the two Flynn daughters remained in their beds, asleep. Officers checked on them quietly, confirming they were unharmed. The girls, both elementary school age, had slept through the gunshot that killed their mother. They had slept through their father's screams. They had slept through the arrival of police cruisers, the flash of lights, the crackle of radios. When they finally woke, it was to the faces of strangers telling them everything would be okay. The presence of these children added a layer of tragedy to an already horrific scene. They were the silent witnesses, the ones who might have heard something, seen something, but remained asleep while their family collapsed. In the days that followed, they would be placed in the care of relatives, their young lives forever altered by a night they could not remember. For investigators, the children represented both a responsibility and a frustration. They were too young to provide testimony, too innocent to understand what they might have heard. The answers to what happened in that bedroom would have to come from elsewhere. While officers secured the scene and Caleb wept on the front porch, emergency medical technicians performed their own assessment. One EMT, speaking privately to an officer, made an observation that carried significant weight. He noted that Ashley's body, though clearly deceased, still had good color. Based on his training and experience, he estimated that death had not occurred many hours earlier. It had been recent. This timeline aligned with Caleb's story that the murder had just happened when he called 911. But it also raised questions. If the murder was recent, where was Caleb during the hours leading up to the call? Had he been asleep next to his wife? Had he been elsewhere in the house? The EMT's observation would become part of the forensic puzzle, a piece of information that investigators would use to test the consistency of Caleb's account. In murder investigations, time of death is a critical factor. It can confirm a suspect's story or expose a lie. The EMT's quiet words, captured on body camera audio, suggested that the window for the crime was narrow. That narrow window placed Caleb, the only adult survivor in the house, directly in the frame. Outside the Flynn home, as dawn began to break, Caleb sat wrapped in a blanket provided by an officer. A friend arrived and embraced him, holding him as he sobbed. The image was heartbreaking, a man destroyed by loss. But watch the officers in the footage. They stand at a distance. They observe. They do not rush to comfort him. Their body language is professional, measured, even detached. They are polite, offering blankets and water, but they maintain a careful separation. They are waiting. They are watching. They are comparing notes. In the background, quiet conversations unfold between officers and EMTs, between patrolmen and supervisors. They discuss the open door. They discuss the gun. They discuss the children. They are building a case in real time, even as the grieving widower performs his sorrow for anyone who will witness it. The contrast between Caleb's public breakdown and the officer's private skepticism is striking. One man believes he is selling a story. The others are quietly refusing to buy it. They have seen too much, heard too many lies, to accept tears as proof of innocence. In the hours following the murder, Caleb Flynn presented himself as a model of cooperation. He agreed to go to the police station. He allowed officers to collect his clothing. He submitted to a DNA swab, opening his mouth while an officer rubbed a sterile swab along his inner cheek. The officer explained the procedure clearly, telling Caleb that the DNA sample would help eliminate him from the investigation. If the crime lab found DNA at the scene that did not match his profile, they would know to look for another suspect. Caleb listened, nodded, and complied. To anyone watching, he appeared to be an innocent man with nothing to hide. But inside an interrogation room, away from the body cameras in the public view, detectives were asking harder questions. They were presenting him with the inconsistencies. The door, the gun, the children. They were watching his face for the micro-expressions that betray a lie. We do not have access to that interrogation footage, but we know its outcome. Hours later, Caleb Flynn would be placed under arrest, charged with the murder of the wife he claimed to love. The arrest happened without warning. Officers approached Caleb, asked him to stand, and informed him he was being taken into custody. His response was telling. He asked, "You want evidence?" It was the question of a man trying to understand what the police knew, what they had found, how they had connected him to the crime. He did not protest his innocence. He did not ask why. He asked about evidence. As handcuffs were placed on his wrists, a friend rushed forward, asking if he could hug Caleb one last time. The embrace was brief, confused, filled with disbelief. The friend could not understand how the man he knew could be accused of such violence. But the state of Ohio had laid out its case. Caleb Flynn was charged with 1 count of murder. He was charged with 2 counts of felonious assault, indicating that multiple shots had been fired, suggesting intent. And he was charged with 2 counts of tampering with evidence. Those last charges spoke directly to the open door, the staged scene. The prosecution was alleging that Caleb's first act after killing his wife was not to call for help, but to construct a lie. Caleb Flynn appeared before a judge for his initial court hearing, looking subdued in a jail uniform. The judge set bond at $2 million, a staggering sum that ensured Caleb would remain in custody pending trial. Electronic monitoring and house arrest were ordered should bond somehow be posted. When given the opportunity to speak, Caleb did not mention his wife. He did not express grief or loss. He said, "I just want to take care of my daughters." It was a statement about himself, about his future, about his role as a father. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. His next court date is set for March 26th, a preliminary hearing where prosecutors will be required to present some of the evidence they have gathered. The community remains divided, some unable to believe the worship leader could commit such violence. Others convinced the evidence tells a clear story. The daughters remain with family, their lives permanently altered, and the body camera footage continues to circulate, offering new viewers a chance to watch the tragedy unfold and decide for themselves what really happened inside that house while the children slept.